What is up, YouTube? All right, guys, so we are up to our last week of this growth phase and this push block. Chrissy is happy with where everything is currently sitting. We've got one more week left of training, or is essentially now Wednesday, so another half a week of training. We've pushed some big numbers so far. Going to push some more numbers again this week or the rest of the week. Try and get some good lifts up before we enter a deload next week. So timing's all mapped out perfectly. You know, me and Chris spoke when we started about what dates we were going to America, flights for clients and shows and things like that. So everything's kind of landed in a very good position for us timeline-wise. We've managed to finish up a pretty decent block. You know, we're sitting about a controlled 8 kilos above where I pulled out of my dieting phase back in March. So what's that? You know, we've got April, May, June, July, August, 4.5 months, and we managed to put on 8 kilos of, I would argue, no extra body fat. If anything, I'm probably leaner. So very, very weird position for us to be in a good way. Never really done that before. So I'll be very keen to see how this strips off and what it looks like underneath. But so plan from here is we've got finish off this week, going to a deload next week, and then we'll be into America. Obviously, still going to get some great training over there, some awesome people to connect with and network with that we're going to be training with. You know, some great food over there to enjoy. Obviously, it's America; it's the place for food. But plans to still be, you know, Chris will be introducing the kind of like tidy up phase, pre-prep phase. So calories will come down, output's going to go up a little bit. Places that we visit tends to be a lot of walking and traveling anyway, so we tend to kind of tick that box without having to do much extra. So all that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. Do be prepared for that. We are going to vlog the absolute shit out of the trip, days in the life, you know, what we're learning, what we're doing, networking, relationships, the podcast we're going on. So there's going to be a lot coming out of this trip that, you know, we want to give back to you guys and show. We'll go through it today, a little bit about how I stay on track while we go on these trips, what that looks like for a pre-prep phase whilst we're away. So I set a very high standard for the team because that's what I operate by. And I think it's a good chance to show you guys kind of how we stick to it and structure it for, you know, being on the road for 2 straight weeks. So that's going to be that. But today we've got a pull session. I modified my week around so that we had something different this week instead of another leg session. So we've got single arm pulls. We've got some bent over rows. We've got some, what else have we got? I've got some Kelso shrugs. We've got some bicep work. We've got some delt work. So overall, a bit of posterior pull. And yeah, we're going to finish off this block with a very solid session. So let's do it. That one. Ooh. Overrated, underrated. In-N-Out burger. Sorry, West Coast, but In-N-Out burger is so overrated. Obviously, we've had the pleasure / luxury of enjoying a variety of American foods now. I don't know if it's because of the hype that was laid for years. You know, watching every bodybuilder under the sun, Jay Cutler videos, Regan Grimes videos, talking about In-N-Out and their double-doubles and that sort of stuff. But the difference between In-N-Out burger and Five Guys Five Guys absolutely smoked In-N-Out Burger. The 45-minute wait, the half an hour lineup time just to order the food. Then by the time it came, it was, oh, you should have had the animal sauce with it and this sauce with it, and you should have added this to it. All due respect, if you've got to add that much stuff to your original item to make it taste good, then your original item sucks, and therefore the entire place is not that good. Always base a restaurant on its original item, and you will be able to tell whether it's good or not. And In-N-Out Burger just wasn't that good. It was a baseline fast food restaurant. That was about basically what it is. Which is not bad, but I think the hype that it gets is severely overrated. One of the things that we've done this year to really try and lock in for the holiday, as Chrissy has the timeline mapped out for us to start pre-prep phase, the idea is to get aggressively ahead of body weight, body fat, so that we start prep in a very lean. I'm already very lean from where I was previously, but I mean, like, Chris wants to start prep lean. So we'll be pretty much dialing in whilst we're over there. But what we're doing to kind of stay on top of everything and include the traveling experience, that sort of stuff, is we've already reached out to several meal companies. Supporters of Ali and Aram, they've Icon Meals will be pre-ordering for those to be arriving and delivered to several locations that we're going to be at, to make sure that we have macro-friendly, accurately tracked meals cooked and ready to go. We go straight to the grocery store when we land, find the nearest gym at a close proximity to where we're staying, make sure we get our sessions in, make sure we get our activity targets in, get any cardio that we need to get done. And then one of the big things we do is we walk everywhere. So as minimal Ubers as possible, especially through the capital cities. So like, we'll be staying in Philadelphia, we're staying in LA for a night, we're staying in Virginia, we're staying near Washington, DC. So there's a lot of capital cities, there's a lot of like traveling and exploring. We can rack up anywhere from 25 to 30,000 steps in a day on those trips. So a lot of activity gets done, a lot of data gets taken care of, because I just take the same concepts that I teach and go live them in real time on these trips. We don't blow it out and just go, it's a holiday, so throw everything out, the baby out the bathwater. As many variables as we control as possible is what's controlled. So we'll still be staying on our shit whilst we're over there and tightening up as we pull down a little bit of body fat, weight, and then, because the output will be so high and we're gonna still have a decent amount of calories, there's gonna be some meals in there like, a Cheesecake Factory or something like that. There's gonna be some Five Guys or whatever it might be. It's just within restraint and being logical about it, because as we've spoken about previously, this next 2 month, 1 month, 3 month block, whatever it is and however long it takes, is priming us for the prep that's coming up in April next year. So we want to get on stage and be undeniable that I am significantly better, if not at my best, or we will be at my best, and be in contention for, the conversation of under 90s. So that all starts from now, not 6 months time from now. So we'll still be staying on, taking care of everything, being on track, and we'll show you guys along the way how we do it, what it is, how we take care of it, ways that we show up and continue to tick the boxes. So it's doable. The question is whether or not you want to do it. Crash dieting or crash prepping versus no off season. Honestly, one thing that I'm tired of seeing and really needs to start being addressed by either coaches or individuals around the person is back to back seasons with no time off, no progress, no chance to heal, no chance to recover and get your body back to an optimal state or a healthy state or a less fatigued state, jumping from show to show, from season to season, looking exactly the same or if not worse because you love the sport. You don't love the sport, you love the validation that stage gives you by being dressed up and prettied up and having the sparkly suit on and the tan. If you actually love the sport, you understand that most of the progress and the success is made 12 months, 18 months off stage. The amount of people that I hear that are, passionately in love with the sport and it's all they think about, but the reality is all they really like is the social validation and the appeasement that comes from being on stage. That isn't loving the sport, that's just liking the highlight reel. So to me, yes, crash dieting is rough. I've done many preps with it, but I still love those preps. Going back to back to back and to get on stage again in 12 months time or 2 years time and have made zero progress or regressed backwards because I just atrophied tissue and completely take my hormones and bodily function, I would probably just quit and never talk about it again. So to me, that is far worse almost every time. Actually take some time off to re-socialize, heal yourself, get your body back to an optimal state, give back to people, give back to your body, reduce fatigue, and actually develop some tissue that looks like you belong on a bodybuilding stage. Game 6. I feel like I'm in a 2000s rave. Where do fitness challenges play a role in change? Honestly, very, very, very few do. True, genuine lifestyle and behavioral change does not take place in 4 weeks. Extreme alterations and modifications in one instance, like full 180-degree change of direction in one's life structure, is rarely sustainable. The only time I'll grant it utility is if the person needs that absolute contrast to what they've been doing and it gets the ball rolling. Usually what you'll see is like some extrinsic motivation, some reward factor for weight loss, getting the first 10 pounds off, 15 pounds off, and that gets the wheel turning. But most challenges, in all of your fitness group classings, everything like that, the data is pretty strong that weight returns. And the thing is that people don't realize is that's their business model. They sell you on a challenge, give you 4 to 6 to 8 weeks off that challenge, and then they start the winter challenge, and they do the same thing. And then they start the summer preparation challenge, and then it's stay lean in summer challenge. Funny part is if you stop doing those challenges and actually structured your lifestyle better, spent time developing habits and a good routine that fit your lifestyle, you wouldn't need to keep doing challenges. If they worked, they would be putting themselves out of business. So very rarely do these fitness challenges actually have a role of impact and change in someone's life. Sometimes, I'll give it sometimes, they can actually help drive motivation and foster change through the immediacy of result. But that is a very rare personality type that I've seen that succeed with. This was peak music back in the day. Yeah, still feels pretty good. Yep. Overrated, underrated. Avocado on toast. Sorry, local white girl at the cafe. It is so overrated. You do not enjoy that $20 avocado and sourdough toast. I'm sorry, you don't. And if you do, you just make it at home for literally 75% cheaper. Oh, the cost of living crisis is getting out of hand. I'm gonna go to the cafe and buy the most expensive small item I can possibly get my hands on. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. It's not the coffee that's making us broke. Well, apparently it is when you spend $30 to get some green mush and sourdough toast. Overrated, underrated. Protein pancakes. Have them as separate things. Just have them as separate things. Protein drink on the side, pancakes if you want pancakes. Not everything requires the P word in front of it. Jesus Christ, I'm so sick and tired of seeing it. It's not better because there's protein in it. You're making the two good things worse. Like, you don't actually enjoy dry, powdery protein pancakes. Underrated, overrated. Walking in steps. Severely underrated. Oh, I just put up a post yesterday about how we apparently live in an obesogenic environment in society, and we made everything too convenient. But then at the same time, I'll hear people struggling to get, or tell me they struggle to get their 6,000 and 7,000 steps a day. Steps as a metric for, steps as an overall proxy for health is a really good indicator. Just aim for 7,000 steps. It doesn't have to be 10. Like 10 is a good number to aim for, but if you can consistently get 7,000 steps a day, it is an extremely underrated proxy for health. All cause health. Just move a little bit more, get some groceries from the local shop by walking instead of driving a car, and thank me when you make it to 75 without dying. Should every athlete chase a pro card? No, I think the question is phrased incorrectly. I don't think chasing a pro card should be why you start. I think the most successful bodybuilders I've seen have started from a love and passion of training, of exercise, of lifestyle that is inherently aligned with the bodybuilding features and traits. That's generally led to a much more productive, efficient career. Then, as you get going, you realize, like, I'm actually here to compete. I think that, you start chasing that pro card, or at least competing with the intention to win. I think that's lacking in a lot of modern day competitors in the bodybuilding space, is the actual drive and competitive nature to want to win. It's looked as like frowned upon as some weird, outlandish goal, or like egotistical and vanity-based metric, but it's a competition, it's a sport with winners and losers. I personally don't like to be a loser. So yes, I go into training, into dieting, into preps with the intention to want to win. I have told many people that I want my pro card. I'll tell it to Niall's podcast that I want my pro card. 90% of people might think that's ludicrous or might not agree or think it's possible. I don't care. I think it's possible. It's something that I want to do. However, I don't think you start your career saying, I'm going to be a pro. The idea is that you focus on the process and performances of each day that leads to the outcomes that works on the trail towards becoming a pro. But I think as an initiating endeavor, I think it's framed in the wrong light that you are trying to get your pro card. Most people don't even know if they like bodybuilding after up to their first season. People are rushing to the stage, rushing to competing. I would prefer you take longer to get to the stage and actually establish if you even like bodybuilding, to then discuss whether or not you like the idea of going pro. So the pro card, it only gets harder for the thing that you're already doing. So if you aren't enjoying it, it's going to take longer. It's going to feel worse. You're going to hate it, and then probably drop off before you even get there. So, you know, the health factors and consequences you have to weigh up as well. It's a very real conversation of, do you even want your pro card, or should you go after it? But I don't think it's the reason that every single person should start. But at some point, it's got to be a considered question. What are you competing for if it's not to win? And don't give me the, I just want the experience bullshit, because that's just a cop out and a weak excuse for why you're losing. You're either not getting better or you're not putting the right effort. But at some point you should be able to decide, like, this is something I want to do for my pro card, and attempt it. Whether you get it or not is a different story, but eventually it's something that you start asking yourself if you want. All right, so some advice you can take on your next holiday, your next trip, especially if it's longer stay. One of the things that we've found in places like America is they're more conventional holiday destinations, travel destinations, and hotels are not designed for long-term stay in the sense of like the utilities and amenities that we would seek. So be prepared to scour and look a little bit deeper and find places that suit the goals that you have. You don't need luxury when you go on a trip to a place like America for like 2-3 weeks. You need conveniences and things that are gonna allow you to stay on track. So one of the places we looked for, or we found, was what's called the Long Stay Suites America. And they're basically like, they're not a conventional hotel or accommodation, but more so designed for like an interstate long week or work week. You know, it's got like everything you need in terms of kitchen, living room space, study area or work area, laundry, everything you need for like, you know, 5+ days worth of travel in a single location. So we booked that, you know, comparatively to other places, only 3 stars, but it has everything we need and in close proximity to the usual, you know, groceries, retail, travel destinations, where we're going to be staying and working. So look up ahead of time, make sure you put time into reviewing what you actually need out of a location, what amenities and utilities it has, so that way we can assess ahead of time what groceries you need. You know, do you need a microwave? Can you get a pre-cooked meal option like Icon Meals? You know, can you go to a local grocer to get some of the other additional items and condiments that you need? You know, scales and things like that you can keep. You know, all that sort of stuff that makes it really easy to be on track is really what it's all about for us. So putting in some extra legwork ahead of your trip when you're booking stuff will allow you to stay more adherent and accountable, and that way you can still enjoy where you are and move towards your goals. So I'll still be doing check-ins with Chris, I'll still be sending data, I'll still be doing photos, all of that, so that we know that things are working, body's tightening up, everything's moving in the right direction. He can tell me, hey, you know, you're being too much of a gluttonous pig. We can cut back on the big slurps, we can cut back on the quarter pounders, which I'm not gonna do. But you get that idea. You start to realize, like, it doesn't have to be gourmet 5-star hotels that, you know, don't have anything you even need to be adherent and accountable, and you can still enjoy yourself and still live the life that you like to live whilst traveling. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm traveling, so throw the baby out of the bathwater, which is a common trope that you hear all the time from people that want an excuse to justify not being on track. Unpopular opinion. We have started using the term self-care to mask laziness and self-indulgence. I am so tired of seeing people phrase gluttony, laziness, poor discipline, poor emotional regulation as a form of self-care. The very ironic thing about it is most of the activities we engage in that we claim are under the umbrella of self-care really do more self-harm than good. Most of the time it's drinking, it's wines and beers after work on a Friday, it's takeout, you know, it's partying and socializing, things that aren't really helping replenish, rejuvenate, correct, fix, or improve your state mood. It actually in the long run makes it worse. You know, self-expenditure through expensive means that don't actually produce anything valuable to you, don't mean anything to you. You know, you're spending all this extra money on vanity purchase that apparently makes you feel better. The reality is that you're justifying a spending problem. We're using the term self-care to rationalize self-indulgence and abundance, which is great if that's what you want, but just say that. Stop pretending it's about mental health or taking care of yourself or giving yourself a day off. 90% of the time, or the very large chance is, you haven't even done anything to earn that self-care. You are arguing from a position of entitlement rather than need. And it has become one of my most frustrating viewpoints of society. We've taken this term that was used to help mental health rejuvenation and basically used it to justify greed and self-entitlement, in my opinion. Do you need to track every meal to make progress? No. I know everyone's probably going to expect that answer from me, but the reality is no. However, the closer you want to be to understanding the data you need to make progress, the more accurate you want to be, the more consistent you want to be with that progress, the better the statistical probability of making progress. Yes, you need to track your food. At some point, I always argue that learning the nutritional literacy and skill of tracking is going to pay off in the long run because eventually you don't need to do it. Now, if you are someone who is an athlete, if you're someone who is a comp prep athlete, if you're a physique competitor, learning to track your food and eating consistently, even off season, is inherently important to you getting a result. Yes, you can follow a meal plan, that's great, but there's gonna be times we have to deviate, times you have to have an off-plan meal or change things up. Knowing how to track that, or at least having an attempt to track that, or knowing the calorie ranges, is gonna help you be closer to the strategy that you are using and the targets you're running to make sure that you're on track. So, is it required to make progress? No. Is it required to make better progress? Yes. You can still eventually buy a house by not tracking your budget. The likelihood that you get there faster than me if I do track my budget is very, 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 very small. Unless you're making substantially more money than me, but if we're on the same amount and I'm tracking my finances, I'm tracking my budget and I'm staying within my means and sticking to my allocated weekly expenditure versus savings, versus you who's just winging it, has no idea what's coming in and coming out and no idea where the money is going, chances are I'm gonna get there before you. You don't get to then complain that the system is uneven or unfair because you chose to not do the thing that would help you get there sooner. That's just how it works. So you can not track, but then don't sit there and complain when you aren't sure of the variables that are costing you the reason why you aren't reaching your goal. Got plenty to say today, I like it. This is fucking terrible music. People are paying to see this, whatever this is. my opinion, but this type of music peaked with Swedish House Mafia. That's my opinion. I know nothing about this industry of music, but it peaked with Swedish House Mafia. Ugh. 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 Oh man, you'd be so proud of me. I did a day in the life vlog.
Where is it?
Brooklyn's editing it.
All right.
I took the camera to the gym, took the camera to my office,
yeah.
and then took my, POV on my phone. The hand of the back leg, and then stretch. Almost like it's kind of slightly coming across the body. Should feel a stretch back here. Ooh. Is contest prep more mental than physical? I think at a certain point, it does become a game of mental fortitude. The amount of mental noise, self-talk and chatter that will try to talk you out of finishing, competing, sticking your diet, finishing training session off, giving 100%, going beyond the point of failure or reaching the point of failure. There's a lot beyond just simply executing more reps that goes into prepping. And for an advanced athlete or a more task-conscious athlete, this just sounds like an obvious, what do you mean? Of course, just do more of the thing. But for the average person, and again, this comes back to a lot more people competing nowadays than probably what should be, because most aren't actually athletes, they're just seeking validation and time on a stage. You have to be conscious of the fact that, again, it is an athletic endeavor in the sense that it's a sporting event or it's a competition. There are winners and losers. They have to have that sort of competitive drive to get through it, because after a certain period of time, your entire being wants you to stop competing. Almost everything about it, if you don't fall in love with the processes of comp prep and physique development, will inherently tell you to stop. And if you can't control that internally, then you have very little chance of controlling it externally. And the very likelihood is that you're gonna break, you're gonna give in to friend requests, you're gonna go out, socialize, eat the extra food, drink the extra alcohol, miss the extra cardio, ruin your extra sleep. So yeah, at a certain point, it's a lot to do with the mental fortitude to ignore the psychological noise and be able to get yourself through it. And this is why I push so many people to fall in love with the process, because if you're already in love with what you do and you're already in love with the game, you don't have to spend as much time convincing yourself to stick to it or do it. You already just do it by nature. So getting more comfortable and getting yourself in the position of loving the sport first and then competing makes it a hell of a lot easier. And this is where I think, the sport is a little bit concerning, because we have everyone rushing to stage. They've barely trained 6 months, died at 6 months, and then all of a sudden they want to do a comp rep. So yeah, be careful. For beginners, are short workouts good enough? Very, you know, down the line, on the fence sort of answer, but for anyone, good enough is a good enough workout for most people that are just trying to get into training. This idea that we need these complicated, sophisticated 2-hour workouts and programs, I've got advanced athletes that get away with 60 minutes tops plus warm-ups. So, you know, for the average person, you don't need anywhere near as much volume, you don't need anywhere near as much exercise selection, you don't need anywhere near the complexity that people seem to be thinking they do, or TikTok is telling them they need. And so a short 30, 45 minute workout that gets in, fucks shit up and gets out is superior to the workout that you're not going to do regardless. So yeah, if getting in there and smashing it and going hard, it is getting you to training and you make the most of the 30 to 45 minutes you have, then absolutely it's going to be enough, and it's going to be good enough, and it's going to probably do enough to get stimulus and response. Having to, you know, make up these complicated, nuanced programs that take 2.5 hours to complete because you've got to attach every other band and resistance curve and stabilizer to simply execute some internal and external rotation is if anything, not good enough from a coach. It's overcomplicating the system and principles. It's adding too much complexity versus the need for that complexity. So yeah, if I need to get you in half an hour, smash it out and go home, yeah, that's gonna be more than enough for most people, especially beginners, to get the initial volume and stimulus that they need. Alrighty guys, so that is the end of pull day. Make sure that you are following. We are about to go to America. There's gonna be a lot of content, day in the life, vlog stuff that we're doing over there, behind the scenes, business work, content, workshops, podcasts, the lot. Coaching spots are available, so make sure that you are reaching out. If you're ready to get on stage the next 12, 18, 24 months, now is the time to book in. Our best results have come from people who have taken that step and accepted that it is a long process for the end result, not something we do in 10, 12 weeks. So book in now, have your chats, get consults in. They're free to see if we even fit and belong together. You know, we're gonna go through a whole process before we even say yes and take your money, to make sure that we actually fit as a team. So book in for those. Spots are still available. And yeah, make sure you're following along, like, subscribe, leave comments, leave ideas, anything you wanna see us talk about, any more of the Think Different series, any more training concepts you want us to explore, leave a comment, we'll get into them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go.